Okay, let's kick things off with a simple question. What do you think is more powerful than one single, super advanced AI?
Well, the answer is a whole team of them. And yeah, it sounds kind of obvious, but trust me, this simple idea is totally flipping the script on how we solve complex problems with AI.
All right, so to really wrap our heads around why this is such a game changer, we got to take a quick look back at the wild journey AI has been on. I mean, we've gone from AI that can just talk to us to AI that can actually do stuff in the real world.
Just take a look at this. It really all kicked off with large language models, right? They got incredibly good at understanding and generating text, but then they learned how to output structured data, stuff like JSON, so they could talk to other computers. The next leap was huge: reasoning. Suddenly, they could break down a complex problem and make a step-by-step plan. And that brings us to today, where they can actually use tools, like APIs to take action on those plans. They went from being just thinkers to being doers, and that, my friends, is what we call an AI agent.
But of course, all this incredible progress brought a new kind of problem to the surface. It turns out, when you try to get one single, all-powerful agent to do a really complex job, it kind of stumbles. It runs smack into what you could call the jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none problem.
I mean, think about it. A single agent has to be a generalist, right? It's trying to juggle a dozen different tools, a ton of information. It's like asking one person to be the researcher, the writer, the editor, and the coder for a huge project. What happens? Things get missed. Accuracy drops. But what if you had a whole crew, a team of specialists where each agent is an expert in just one thing? Now you're talking much higher accuracy, much better results.
And that's exactly where this framework called CrewAI comes in. It's built from the ground up to solve this very problem. It gives you a way to assemble and manage these specialized AI crews.
The philosophy behind it is actually super simple and elegant. It's all about copying how we humans work best. I mean, think about it. A team of specialists, a surgeon, an anesthesiologist, a nurse, is always going to do a better job than one person trying to do everything. CrewAI just takes that exact same common sense and applies it to AI.
Okay, so how does this all work? Let's pop the hood and see what makes it tick. It really boils down to three main building blocks.
It's pretty straightforward, really. First up, you have the agents. Think of them as your team members. Then you've got tasks, which are the specific assignments you give them. And finally, you have the crew itself, which acts like the team lead, making sure everything gets done. So let's dive into each one.
So an agent, what is it? It's your specialist. It's a single, autonomous AI that's been designed to do one specific job really, really well, just like having a dedicated researcher or a coder on a human team. Now this is where it gets really cool. How you actually create one of these agents. You define three things for it. First, you give it a role, a job title like Senior Market Analyst. Then, you give it a very specific goal to achieve. And this is my favorite part. You give it a backstory. This is its persona, its history, its skills. It's basically a mini resume that gives the AI all the context it needs to nail its job. All right, next up we have the task. Think of this as the work ticket or the assignment. It's a super specific step-by-step instruction that you give to one of your agents.
So every single task lays out exactly what needs to be done, what the expected outcome is, the deliverable, and which specific agent is on the hook to get it done. The whole point here is to eliminate any confusion. Everything is crystal clear.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the crew. The crew is basically the conductor of the orchestra. It's the project manager that takes all the individual agents and all their tasks and makes sure they work together smoothly to hit the final goal.
Okay, so we've seen the what, the agents, the tasks, the crew. But now for the why. Why does this team-based approach actually blow a single agent out of the water when it comes to performance?
There's a really great human analogy for this. Look, for a common cold, you'd go to your family doctor, a generalist, and that's fine. But if you needed brain surgery, a super complex, high-stakes procedure, you're not going to that same doctor. You're going to a specialist, a neurosurgeon. It's the exact same logic for AI. For the really tough jobs, you don't want a jack-of-all-trades. You want a crack team of specialists.
And listen, the proof is in the pudding. The numbers don't lie. When you look at accuracy on complex tasks, a single agent might get it right, say, 65% of the time. But a multi-agent crew, we're talking accuracy jumping up to over 90%. That's not just a little better. That is a massive leap in performance.
So what's the bottom line here? What should you take away from all this? Well, what we're witnessing is a fundamental shift in how we think about and build with AI.
It's this. Frameworks like CrewAI are showing us how to get past the limitations of a single AI. They provide the playbook for building these teams of AI specialists that can work together to solve problems with a kind of complexity and nuance that was, frankly, just out of reach before.
And that leaves us with a pretty mind-bending question to chew on. If we can now build AI crews that can research, write, strategize, and execute complex business plans, what's stopping us from seeing entire companies run by them? It sounds like science fiction, but that future might be a whole lot closer than any of us think.